they just help me and they play games with me. Here, let me show their phone number online, right? I
Well,
get
not
it,
in
but
most
at the same time,
situations. It's actually not online for those reasons. It's because those people are witnesses and they need to be reached
oh,
out
okay.
to. I literally made my YouTube channel for evidence. My
Well,
YouTube
right. And
channel is not for entertainment. It's not for exposing people to shame them. It's to show the
well,
truth.
yeah, I know. I
I
know.
it also shows my panic attacks, and that's the part that people use to pretend I'm a horrible monster. If I threaten somebody, I'm threatening them back. I'm never going to just outright threaten somebody. And unless there's physical harm and people's lives at stake, I'm not going to do anything of the sort. I'm not going to get physically violent unless people's lives are at stake. And even then, good luck. Like, I hate violence. I'm not good at it, and I can't run away. I'm not
Well, yeah,
physically
I'm someone
capable.
who I always think there is a better option in 100% of cases to where violence does not need to be the answer. We're not primates. We're adults in a civilized world.
Well,
There is no scenario that we need to take up arms and violently hurt one another.
with the people that I'm dealing with, they are taking up arms and violently hurting
Well,
me.
I knew
And
that.
also, this is an important detail too. A lot of these people who promised to help me, every time I tried telling them the details of the abuse so that they knew what was going on, they would interrupt me to talk about hurting these people. Over a dozen of the people at Safeway, I had to tell it's not okay to hurt Andrew Wolness. I even had to put something on my YouTube channel about that. It's not okay to threaten to hurt him either. That's not okay. And that's what a lot of people jump to first. And for somebody like me who has a lot of trauma from that, it literally is just me going from one violent minded person to another, instead of them writing a report about what they've seen or any of that. They just automatically jump to, well, if I see him this, if I see him that, I'll whoop him this and I'll whoop him that. Sean, you should taser him, you should shoot him, you should all this and that and the other. People are literally offering me firearms here to protect myself from Chris Stafford and Andrew Wolnez. I mean, this is a situation that is incredibly unsafe, and that's one of the things that I'm hoping at Helping Hands that they have, or whatever that place is called. I'm hoping that they have an internet access. If not, I have to be able to do that on my phone and plug in my computer and try to do it that way. But at least it'll be more than 3 hours a day, and I won't have to pay someone to carry it in and out every time.
Yeah, and while we might not always agree on what the best course of action is, Sean, right? I understand that we're not always going to agree, but threatening somebody with violence is not something you ever have to worry about with me. I'm a very passive person.
Good.
So,
That'll help
but
out a lot. The other thing is, I'm literally having to deal with people actually harming me. A lot of the stuff people keep telling me about the laws, I've looked them up, and these people, in most cases, are wrong. There's also a lot of situations where the people that I'm trying to turn in were allowed to do things that I wasn't. All of the situations, literally every one of these jurisdictional situations where they allowed people from other jurisdictions to speak, I should have been allowed to show the evidence that these people were not telling the truth, and no public pretender tried that. None of them tried getting a hold of any of the witnesses or getting any witnesses' statements. Neither did any of the police, unless it was someone who was trying to turn me in. That's the problem with having to turn in these police and them being able to retaliate against me by dragging stuff out.
So
By
now
the way, they
let me ask
also
you
pulled
something.
this stuff last night again. The harassment and the screaming at me and the calling me a bitch and all that stuff. Like, they do this every day.
Seems to be a very everyday occurrence.
Yes.
Let me turn my attention to the court date, right? Because I feel like, maybe you don't feel like it, but I feel like at least that court date is probably the most important thing right now, because it has to do with a restraining order to keep this Andrew guy away from you, right?
Yes, sir. But the other thing is, while I've got the protection order against him, I still need to be able to turn in the assaults, because all the protection order was for was to stop to try to get some legal recourse to prevent him from doing this. The police are still refusing. They've been recorded refusing, talking over me, trying to do this head game with Lothman that they've been playing for like 16 months. They're still playing that. And they played that with the Safeway employees. There's also instead of taking witness statements, they say, oh, well, you can't make a report for somebody else. Like, they're just literally they're calling it something else and making it okay. Kind of like calling. Go ahead.
So now, with the now I know you got a bunch of stuff that you're going to turn in at a court date and some evidence on like witnesses and stuff like that, right? Do you have those affidavits from those people or not yet?
Some of them, they're not affidavits, but that's the thing. That's what I was trying to explain to literally everybody from the start, is that I can't do this for myself. There's supposed to be people to help me. They didn't help me in Colorado. They didn't help me in Nebraska. They literally ignore me and send me around in circles. I've got 15 bags of paperwork in my car that I didn't have any help doing, but I keep having to travel to all these court dates. It's unsafe for me to drive because of what I've been through, and I still get forced to drive to all these places, and everybody's got all these ideas of what I should do. Do you have any idea how much time that eats up? Like, it is not possible.
And I only asked that
I have to get subpoenas, so I have the subpoena paperwork. I have nobody helping me with that, and I'm having to move my car every day. I'm having to stay with alcoholics and drug addicts if there's a place in town that I can possibly stay, and they're volatile. And I've got that all over my YouTube channel too. Like, there's a lot of evidence, but nobody's doing anything about the paper evidence. It's still getting rained on in my car. Nobody's doing anything about my safety. I'm still living in my car. When it comes to my safety and the safety of my property, obviously nobody cares about my property. I had to talk to Martinez just, what was it, day before yesterday, and I told him, hey, I need to tell you guys about the assaults. He said, I'm just here to give you a piece of paper. He still isn't interested. None of them are.
Right, I understand. So the most likely turn of events at your court date that's going to happen is most likely you're going to say, hey, I have this evidence and I need to do these subpoenas, but I don't have anyone to help me fill them out, right? Make sure that you tell the judge, I don't know how to fill this stuff out, and I don't have anyone to help me fill it out.
Sir, all right, here, hold on. I've already been through the part where we do that part. The judge just talked over me. Everyone does. Everybody gives me advice on what to do and what to say. No, I don't have an advocate. Someone else needs to look at this evidence and speak, because I'm getting talked over. I'm getting the mentally ill treatment. I'm getting the you're a retard who makes everything up treatment. I'm getting the you're a liar treatment. That's what I'm getting everywhere. Now, here's the thing about trusting you. I'm having to try to trust you without knowing you, but you're second guessing everything that I'm trying to tell you, and that is very disheartening. Because here's the thing. Hold on. I've already been to the first court date where they allowed me a whole bunch of pieces of paper to fill out. There's about 20 of them to fill out so that I can subpoena people to the courts. Now, because of the situation with the police, I have to turn it into the court's window, but the judge said to do that. The thing is, nobody has helped me with that, and I have court coming up where I'm supposed to present all of this evidence, and I'm still having to try to move my stuff to somewhere safe and myself to somewhere safe. I still haven't been able to go through it. The phone that I have access to do all that stuff on, that phone is now broken, and that is a very important detail. It is very important, and it is a very big source of anxiety. I have to find the money to fix that. I have no money. All of my money has been ripped off by people out here on the streets, and by having to jump through all of this government jargon for them to say things, oh, like it doesn't cost any money. It really does. It costs the taxpayers money. It also costs me money to travel there. It costs me money to keep all of the resources necessary to travel to those places. I am falling apart. My body is falling apart, and they're not paying any attention to that.
So, Sean, I'm not second guessing you, because when I said, about the subpoenas and all that, and you said that you had already had a court date for that, I had no idea that you already had a first court date.
Right, and that's what I was trying to tell you, but you had already assumed that I hadn't. You'd already assumed that I needed to know a bunch of stuff, and that's the problem, is that I'm trying to tell you important details, but you're assuming before I even get it out of my mouth. And that's literally the problem with everybody that I talk to, is they've already assumed, and then I have to fight past their assumptions while they continue running with their assumptions, sometimes for literally years at a time.
So when is this court date?
I don't know for certain. Let me grab my papers. I have some. I brought them up here today.
Because sadly, if the court date is less than 2 weeks away,
It is less than 2 weeks away.
that is literally not enough time to fill out a bunch of subpoenas and get them to the courts.
And that's the thing, is that I told the courts I did my best. I'm well aware of all of this. That's why I've been begging for help. That's why I've been saying, stop making me go through all this housing stuff and talk to these idiots. They're just going to talk over me every time. They're wasting time and you're wasting time. And that's why I'm trying not to be a jerk about it, because we're going in the wrong direction, because people are running with assumptions based on stuff they're texting. A lot of the stuff that you've done for me is, sure, I want to believe that you've done that. And it would be great if you had done it. And if you absolutely did do it, that's great. But the thing is that I'm being abused in real life every day. And this is what all of these people are needing to focus on. And with the people who have already, obviously my life is at risk. Obviously my evidence at risk. All right. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I want you to remember, right? I know a lot of people have done a lot of bad things. I know a lot of people have delayed a lot of things. But I need you to remember that I've known you for less than a week, right? And
yes, sir. And I've heard that out of a lot of people too. And I do understand that. I do understand that. That's why it's important to have that first talk before making decisions, before saying, hey, you need to get a hold of that guy, and we'll both be in on the conversation. Like I that's the thing with Candy. She did that like 4 different times, where she was setting up appointments, but she wasn't taking the time to listen. She was telling me that she'd listen before we went to those appointments, and she didn't make that time to listen, and we had to go into those appointments blind. Meanwhile, the stuff that we're being told to do and she's saying that she's going to help me with, she never gets around to helping with. And while that's happening, more crimes are being committed against me. I'm still in the same unsafe situation. As far as the whole 2 weeks thing, yeah, that's what I was trying to say from the very start, is I can't protect myself from Andrew Wolnez in any way, shape, or form. Nobody is going to let me. Nobody's going to help me.
So that's the thing, right? Is that with the court date that close, even if I tried something, it's just not enough time for me to do anything, because the courts take longer than that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem with taking advantage of an at-risk adult like me, is that the courts are doing this too. They know exactly what they're doing. The other thing is, some of the stuff that needs to be done, like I could do it if I had that help and they knew it. All of these people who are preying on me know I can't do these things for myself. That's what I'm having to show you, is the actual evidence that I can't do these things for myself. That these people are just running me around in endless circles because I can't do these things for myself. They're preying on the fact that I can't do these things for myself.
Now, if you can ask the court to extend the no contact order and ask for a continuance, then you can give me those forms and I can fill them out and send it back to you.
You would have to make that call with me.
To the courts?
Yes, I literally can't make these calls alone. I'll get talked over.
That's not a court date, or that's not a court phone call. That's what you're going to have to ask in the middle of court.
That's the thing, is that I need someone to speak up for me. You can't make me speak up for myself when I'm just going to get talked over for trying.
Well, I know that, Sean, and that's why I'm saying, that is why I made it such a big deal that we need somebody local to help as well, because I can't make the court dates from way over here.
I'm well aware that you can't, but we can do video court, and everybody overlooks that. The other thing is that the statements that you've made to me, those can be written down and those are admissible in court. It doesn't matter if you're across the country. And that's one of the things about the mandated reporter laws, as well as all of the stuff that makes this federal. None of this should even be in the local courts.
Yeah, I get that.
With
I
the
mean,
stuff with the stuff with you.
If you can request a video court, but I think it's too close to try and request a video court for the date. You know what I mean?
I don't have anyone local helping me with this. And when you say you understand that you were trying to get someone local to help me with this, the problem is that none of the locals are going to do their jobs. They're going to run me around in circles like they have for 16 months. They're going to pretend that I'm not disabled, make me do a bunch of stuff that I'm literally incapable of because I'm disabled and because of them preying on my disabilities, which has screwed me over physically, financially. I mean, there's no form of abuse other than sexual that I haven't had to endure in this county.
Okay, let me ask you this then before my lunch is over. I keep bringing up a bunch of stuff that we can do, but when it comes to helping you, right, what do you feel like is the best way that I can help you? What do you need from me? What do you want me to do?
I need you to stop asking questions like that. Please stop. There's important details that I'm trying to tell you when I'm not in a state of panic and in a state of crisis. I'd like to be able to tell you those details when you have time without it becoming you getting defensive over everything that I say and telling me what you were thinking at the time. I don't need to know that. What you need to know is how it affects me. All right, that's the thing about me telling my story. I need people to actually listen to my story and not interrupt me to say jurisdiction this, jurisdiction that, or the way that it is here or the way that it is there. Just listen to my story so you know what's going on.
Right.
I know that you can't listen to hours and hours and hours and hours of this, which is why I asked people to listen to me, because every time I'm interrupted, I'm going to get even more anxious and I'm going to be even more afraid. Eventually, it gets to the point where I am afraid to speak, and I will literally sit there for days on end thinking about ending my life because literally nobody's going to listen. There is literally no way to force people to listen. There's no way to get people to stop telling me all of their ideas and assuming that I'm so retarded that I need suggestions from them. All right, I'm not against suggestions, but uninformed suggestions are just time wasters.
Well, I understand that, Sean. That's why I asked you that you keep saying that I'm bringing up stuff, right? That's not helpful. And I understand that. That's why I was asking you what you would like me to do to help.
Yes, I'm aware of that, but when I say from the very start, you know, when you were telling me that you were going to call up and listen to my story and that it was important, that's still important. But now we've got a bunch of assumptions at play, and we've got a bunch of really messed up situations that have happened because of those assumptions, and it's become a very quick mess. And it would have been a lot easier just to take the time from the start to have that listen. Instead of making it a conversation, treat me as if I am a victim who's trying to tell you about the harm I'm enduring and why. I'm telling you what crimes were committed against me and why they were committed. You know, if I'm assaulted and it's over somebody's assumption, I'm giving you their motives for it. I'm also willing to show the motives for it, but I have to not be constantly moving around from place to place to place because somebody had another big idea of I should move, and they're going to just repeat that over and over again. I get that. If they repeat it over and over and over again until I do it, will they listen to me if I do their suggestion? No. Historically, no. If I move to Sherman Oaks, California, because Shannon Alvarado is going to help me with this stuff when I get there, historically, what happened? Well, I got there and she was drunk pretty much the whole time. She wasn't even able to help herself. She was busy screaming at her boyfriend. I'm having to depend on others because I don't have the most basic resources. And having to depend on those other people has resulted in them not doing anything helpful and taking their time and dragging their feet. I am a dependent adult, which means that when these people don't follow through, I'm harmed irreparably. Like a lot of the things that have been done to me financially and physically, I can't ever recover from. There's no way to do it.
Yeah, I understand. And now, so I'll explain more later and let you talk more later too. But I do have to get back to work. But
Yes, sir.
call me at 3:15 your time. I have an hour drive home, and then we can talk for an hour before I get home.
Yes, sir.
All right?
That's dangerous.
Why?
Well, oh, you have hands free?
Yeah. I have hands free in my car.
All right.
So, all right, Sean. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Be safe.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Mm. They're taking advantage of the fact that I can't function. That's the same thing my friends and family did all growing up. They just talk over me and make the same suggestions over and over and over again. They don't know what the situation is or if that situation is fixable by their solution. And most of these, the solution is literally don't make calls for them, make the calls with them. Make sure that if you do make a call that you are informed of the situation instead of just informed of your assumptions. You get to hear how you repeatedly, while I'm telling him the situation and how it affected me, he's repeatedly interrupted me to tell me his assumptions of the situation. I got factual evidence, there's stacks of this crap. But it's a matter of having to trust somebody, and how can you trust someone who talks over everything? Oh, well, I thought this and I thought that. Well, that's one of the things about getting familiar with the situation before dumping or jumping all in. Then there's the, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm like, well, you can't do that from behind the lines and behind closed doors and hide your face and your name and everything like that. My friends and family didn't care. And the people who are supposed to help me with this stuff, they're not gonna help. Meanwhile, I'm supposed to find out information about my stalkers, right? But if I do, you pretend I'm stalking. And that guy there saying he couldn't turn that in because he's not a mandated reporter in Oregon. He's just a mandated reporter in North Dakota. Well, actually, you're a mandated reporter wherever you are. So I guess I gotta make another phone call. I didn't lose my telephone to see if there's a room out there at the Whatchamacallit place.
This is Brianne.
Hey, this is Sean.
Hi. How's it going, Sean?
Well, I'm still breathing. I'm still
Alright.
trying to get heard too, which is nearly impossible, but trying to be upbeat. I was
Yeah.
wondering if you had any good word.
Let me call you right back, actually, because I'm not actually in the office today, but let me see if we made any headway last night.
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
call you right
Thank you.
back, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Hey. The very beginning of the conversation with that first feller, I wish I'd have been able to get my computer running. I plugged my computer in just a little after 9 o'clock, and it didn't start actually working to record until about 10:30. Quite a while. If I could set it up and just leave it running, be able to use it for more than a couple hours at a time. Like right now, I gotta do it out here because I don't know what's gonna happen with the possibility of that place out there. Then there's the fact that literally all these people do is focus on housing. That feller, he was talking about details that he didn't know. There's reasons that he didn't know those details. It's because once we got to that part in my story, he always interrupted with the same thing. Oh, I don't know the laws. Oh, the jurisdiction. Well, the law's here. Oh, I'm in a hurry. I don't have much time. Yeah, I know. And I'm dependent on you, which is unfortunate. I might have the whole thing recorded on this thing, but it takes several hours to turn it into a video, and then it takes 8 to 12 hours for it to download. It's not that it's wrong to call these places, it's that it's wrong to call these places uninformed. It eats up a lot of time. Meanwhile, when you're telling me that you'll listen if I do these things that you've assumed will fix it, and I do the things that you've assumed will fix it, and then you start saying, oh, well, that didn't fix it. Well, if that's not helping, I don't know what I can do. I should just probably leave. No, that's a fucking cop-out. It's cruelty. It's mean. I record for a reason. When it comes to the courts, any idiot can look at the evidence and realize I'm getting taken advantage of by the courts. But this guy understands the time I've got right now to try to send him stuff. I still need to be able to trust him before sending it to him. Plus, I got to process this other evidence. Plus, I have to make other phone calls, and I have to do it all in a 3-hour time frame, which is basically shortened into about 30 minutes worth of usable time every day, if I'm able to get my computer up here, which is excruciating. Most of the time, I have to hire somebody to carry it up here. If I am able to carry it up here, I still got to hire somebody or talk somebody into carrying it down. The stuff with the cops harassing me for being parked no matter where I go. And things people putting rocks big enough to kill me through my window. the fact that I'm having to stay with alcoholics and drug addicts through all of this. And in order to send them that evidence, I have to find a place where I can process it without having to deal with a bunch of screaming. In order to do a lot of this stuff, I have to be able to look at the evidence while I'm talking on the phone with somebody because they're wanting important evidence or important information, and I have to look it up. Thank goodness I have the computer to look it up with, but if I don't have it in front of me and don't have the ability to plug it in, it does me no good. Now you also get to hear how officers play head games like Officer Arrow. What was his issue? Well, he knew that I didn't have the ability to turn on my computer and show stuff to him. They weren't going to allow me the room to do that. He just wanted to separate me from where I had access to the internet. He knew that my computer wasn't going to work just sitting in my car, and he was going to call that an excuse too. Meanwhile, the longer we're jumping through this crap, the longer we're literally not focusing on turning in the abuse. All of their ideas have done nothing to turn in the abuse. They've only run me around in more circles with no regard for my physical abilities. The guy yesterday, that hotel thing, yeah, that's a great idea, and that's what should happen. Because me being out there with sensory processing issues and having to deal with the people out there and all their whining and bitching and bullshit like it's a goddamn AA meeting, it's not helpful. But it's a place where I don't have to run in and out with my stuff every day and hire somebody to carry it in and out every day. Now, between looking at evidence and arguing, these people would rather argue, and that's literally what it is. I'm having to argue with your assumptions. I'm telling you what's going on. I'm telling you my situation. I'm sending you evidence. But what good does it do if you're not going to look at it? You're just going to argue. Still working on it with the housing thing. Oh, we got a wannabe. Well, had to ask the internet question, and I totally did. See, that's the thing about the courts is that they literally ignore my situation. They ignore my circumstances. They ignore the abuse. They ignore my ability to do anything about it because of what I've been forced into. Chris Stafford made a fake account, or somebody pretending to be Chris Stafford. So what are we gonna do? Make sure we take a screenshot of it. And then what do we do? Of course, we go to block these fellers from our YouTube channel. see more about this channel. Let me guess, it was just made yesterday. Oh, they joined February 28th. Cute. God damn, that was easy. Just hide user from this channel.
Mhm. Sean, no, you need to go. This is not.
sorry.
This is not acceptable.
I'm sorry. Uh, mm. Mm. Don't even know what I did wrong. Oh, they were closed. Oh, come on. What the heck is going on here?